With the year almost ending and holiday festivities beginning in many parts of the world, it's only somewhat sensible to talk about a holiday-related fan base that isn't Rudolph, Frosty, Nightmare Before Christmas, or many of the works millions will obsess and discuss over an open fire. From a familiar animation production company, DreamWorks, came a film that ultimately did not become the studio's competitor to The Grinch or even Frozen. 2012's Rise of the Guardians, based on author William Joyce's book series that began in 2011, continues to produce fan art, character shipping, and fan fiction, despite more than 9 years without a sequel's production or additional official media of the franchise. Young adults, and adults alike, have their traditions dedicated to the wonderful world in Rise of the Guardians. So let's take a look at what they see and still believe from this piece of media that isn't the big mainstream of holiday cheer. William Joyce is a Louisiana-born writer, illustrator, and filmmaker. From the start of his career, Joyce had a knack for imagination and understood how his creativity could impact children through stories and animation. In fact, Joyce has illustrated and written more than 50 children's books throughout his entire career. Also, having been one of the original creators of award-winning animated children's TV show Roly Poly Oly, Joyce's creativity continued on a path of familiar and memorable books and animated films. Joyce created concept art for Toy Story and A Bug's Life. Then he would turn up as a creator, producer, and production designer for Blue Sky Studios' Robots. As the years went by, 2005 was the birth of a small idea that would continue to be a project that Joyce wanted to bring to the big screen: The Guardians of Childhood. After selling the rights to the film to DreamWorks, Joyce would team up with Peter Ramsey as a co-director for the film adaptation of his ideas and books, later titled Rise of the Guardians. In general, both the film and novels, for the most part, spins the mythologies and origins of the Easter Bunny, Santa Claus, the Tooth Fairy, Sandman, and many other holiday icons to something more akin to comic book superheroes. They all exist to unite against a being of evil that manifests as children's nightmares and darkness, Pitch Black, aka the Boogeyman. During the movie's November 2012 release, Joyce describes his inspiration on his ideas. When I had children, then I had to start telling them about these guys, Santa Claus and Tooth Fairy, and I realized that the mythologies were pretty weak and shallow, unformed. If they asked a lot of questions about Superman, I can tell them everything. Superman comes from the planet Krypton and so on, but I couldn't tell them anything about these guys. I thought that was a shame, and then I had the feeling that they needed a little rehabilitation. They didn't quite have the majesty that they had, at least in my imagination as a kid, and so I started taking it very seriously and really got into it, and then it got bigger and bigger and became this epic, this difficult to tame epic. I decided it would be 13 books, 7 picture books, 1 each for their origins, and then 5 novels that would link their stories together, how they came to be, and how they first faced off with Pitch. For those that want a more comprehensive look at the differences between the film and the works based on Joyce's books, Hezu Neutral does a 2-part series that goes by every intricate detail from book to book, and I highly recommend it. Whether they have read the books and were captivated by Joyce's illustrations and imagination of these holiday heroes, or saw the beautifully animated film bring them to life on the big screen, fans sparked their own imagination from these works through writings and discussions in the Rise of the Guardians fandoms. The Guardians, or what we had known as the Easter Bunny or Santa Claus, were spun on their head in a way that gave them history, relationships, motivations, and abilities that connected to these fans. For instance, I spoke with an admin for a Rise of the Guardians Facebook group, Samantha, who saw the movie for the first time when she was 14. She created the group to talk with other like-minded fans, with her favorite Guardian being Jack Frost, the new recruit with ice powers and a design that echoes boy band looks. Along with being an admin, Samantha has Guardians fanfiction that she has been transitioning onto the website Quotive. Aside from fanfiction writers drumming up adventures of the Guardians after the film and books, the imagination of their designs and Joyce's illustrations and their characters' designs in the films have captivated and drive that drawing and painting talents of fans like Elaine. Elaine saw the film at the age of 16, and only after creating a Tumblr account did she discover the book series. Her favorite Guardian being Tooth, or the Tooth Fairy, who had implications of a romantic interest with Jack Frost in the film, which has created shipping between the two among the fandom, dubbing the couple Fairy Frost or Rainbow Snowcone. The shipping has inspired Elaine to draw and create artwork of the two Guardians in romantic situations, all under her Instagram Aleikats. When asked why of the two Guardians she preferred Tooth, it was mostly down to her diversity. Just between him or her, I will always choose Tooth. You don't see a Southeast Asian character as one of the main characters every day. Diversity, personalities, and creativity of the Guardians is what keeps the creative energy and imagination of the fans to come together in their writing and in their other creative arts, just as Joyce set to accomplish, keeping them believing. Rise of the Guardians opened in November 2012 on the same week as films like Silver Linings Playbook, Life of Pi, and the Red Dawn remake, with Wreck-It Ralph releasing a few weeks prior, topping the box office for Disney. With a budget of $145 million, Rise of the Guardians' first 3 weeks netted more than $17 million, which is not a good start. Eventually, after being in theaters until April of 2013, as well as combining international grossing, Rise of Guardians would eventually get $306 million. But at that point in time, a lot of money was lost in marketing and distribution costs. Marketing was a wreck for this movie. Despite doing alright, the movie was pinned on for DreamWorks' huge loss, I think. I think because there was not as much interest in the film since it was about the Big Four and not about fighting animals or famous fairy tales. According to The Guardian, the film lost over $83 million, and its failure became one of the most contributing factors in DreamWorks' financial issues and decline during the next few years, with the article citing after the loss, DreamWorks laid off 350 employees. Jeffrey Katzenberg, chief executive of DreamWorks at the time, told analysts during a discussion of the company's fourth quarter performance, "Guardians was the first movie of ours, after 17 in a row, that didn't work. When that happens, it really makes you rethink everything." This was unfortunately not the only significant loss during the movie's production and release. During the development of Rise of the Guardians at DreamWorks, William Joyce served as co-director with director Peter Ramsey, but would eventually step down to executive producer during the tragic death of his daughter, Mary Catherine. The film was dedicated in her memory in the credits. For Mary Catherine Joyce, a Guardian, fierce and true. But just like how the Guardians were forgotten by all of the children in the world, all it took was a little hope, a little light in the darkness. During a DreamWorks second quarter call on earnings, Rise of the Guardians had one of the highest box office to DVD conversion ratios among major releases during 2013, and these home media sales would fare far better than its time in the box office. People were watching, and fans would continue their support, art, writings, sequel ideas. The fandom would continue to share their interest of the film and the books. The film won nominations and awards including Best Animation in the African American Film Critics Association, Storyboarding, and Annie Award for Animated Feature Production, and so many more. Joyce continued work after Guardians and still remains hopeful of another film. citing in 2013 in an interview with IAR, "I hope so. There is something that we are proposing that we hope they will want to do." Fast forward to September 2020, Peter Ramsey, who is now known as one of the directors for the very successful Into the Spider-Verse movie, Ramsey is still bringing in hope to all fans for another Guardians movie, according to an article by Comic Book. I'd love to be involved in something like that again, just because there are so many things I'd like to improve on from the first time because of inexperience or the circumstances that we didn't get to do. I would love to. I'd love to work with some of those same people again, to have another bite of the apple and those characters. I think they deserve another shot. I really love them. But what do the fans hope for the future? I believe Pitch should return in some way, or possibly a new bad guy. I would love to see a sequel, perhaps be part of it even as small as being the crew's coffee runner. If not a sequel, a Netflix series. The movie barely scratched the surface of the books' lore it was based on. Joyce once said that everyone's story matters. Whether or not Rise of the Guardians ever gets another shot into the mainstream media, the hope, imagination, and creativity of the fans means that despite the numbers, the facts, and the odds, their experiences with the books and movie will never be forgotten. Thank you for watching, and thank you all for the last 6 to 7 months of support on my channel. I am less than 30 subscribers away from my first 100 subscribers. I've attempted YouTube channels in the past, but this is, one that I definitely will continue to work on. Audio issues have been slowly improving, but I will be taking what I learn and already have tons of ideas for Season 2. Like many of these ideas coming from fellow Forgotten fans. Please support the contributors to this month's video. They were all very helpful in their insight, and I will be taking my hiatus to work on Season 2. And you may not see a video until around June and July. But this is Season 1. It is at an end, and all I ask is you check out the other videos on my channel. Happy holidays from Forgotten fans, and remember, they may have forgotten, but you did not.